Oh yeah. All right guys, welcome back to Survival Living here. So today I want to discuss bartering items, but with a twist. Guys, there's plenty of videos on items you should be stocking up for bartering, but I also want to cover specialty items that can be used as a service during SHTF. Okay, it's one thing to have items that you can trade off, but what about skill set? What about certain items to provide a service for other people? Something, makes sense, right? When things go down, do other people know how to secure and procure meat, make it last longer? Do they know how to make fishing traps, decent quality traps, things like that? So let's go ahead and get into this. It's a lot of items for you guys. I do a lot of these videos, and we also do gold and silver as bartering items, and also to transfer your wealth after an event. A lot of people don't like that because gold and silver is expensive. I understand that. But that's not the only thing we focus on. We do show gold and silver. I believe it has a purpose. As a prepper, we try to cover all aspects, not just one. Because you're not prepping if you're not covering all the aspects. And that's what we try to do here on the channel. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first one I'm going to talk about is candle making. Yeah, I mean, when the power's down, fuel now becomes very obsolete or very hard to get. How are people going to light up their homes? It's going to go back to the olden days. Let's put it that way, guys. Candles. Do you know how to make candles? Do you have the supplies on hand to make candles? Now, it's one thing if you get a supply of candles for you and your household, but during SHTF, candle making is a great asset, especially when commerce starts rebuilding. People start doing trade routes. Don't think it's going to happen? It's happened before. When society was growing, other countries, other nations fought each other, brought them down. Now, I'm talking about many, many years ago. I'm not talking about a technology advanced society we have today. But we still have candles. Go to the store, they still got candles. So, like, Gulf Wax is an amazing product, very cheap. Wicks, molds. Now, you can make your molds just about out of anything. All right, as long as it's watertight, because that's basically what it is. And it's got to sustain a lot of heat. Do you have the ability to provide a service like that? To me, that service is a very smart service during SHTF for bartering purposes. You are now the candle maker in the area. Those wares can bring in a lot of supplies and trade. No one likes sitting in the dark. That is one of the most fearful things of man throughout history was the dark. The dangers, the creepy crawlies, the things that hunt in the dark. Being able to provide light. Now this one here is food preservation. I'm real funny about trading food. But let's say that you now have a service provide of preserving food. This one here I want to talk about dehydrators, pressure canners. The fact is, when power's out, no one has the availability to store food in temperature control anymore. Your houses become hot boxes or ice boxes, depending on the season and where you live. Dehydration of food extends the life of fruits, vegetables, and meats. Canning food. Now, what you need to make sure that you have is the availability to power these things up at your location, all right, your home, while you're doing these services. That's why we always talk about alternative power, things like that. But that's not the bartering aspect we're talking about. Alternative power should be very important to you as far as a prepper goes. But food dehydration, preserving these foods. Now you have wares that you can trade. Dried, dehydrated, canned foods. Something to look into. Something I think is very important. I don't want to just tell you about items that you can just stock up and trade off. I'm talking about services that will make you thrive in SHTF. Not just exist and survive. Now, unfortunately, this next one is a very expensive prep. Socks. Yeah. Now, there's not much of a way of textiling your own type of socks unless you are a major seamstress or clother or whatever it is that they call these people, tailors. Socks. All right, used to be able to get these things decently priced, stock them up. We stock them up for ourselves. That could be an item that you can actually just trade off unless you know how to manufacture your own or a substitute, maybe look into some types of substitute of socks. People will be going through socks left and right, especially when showers now become hard to come by. Everybody's on foot. Means there's more foot traffic on your boots, your shoes, your socks. Socks is a good idea, in my opinion. It's an easy barter item to trade off. Again, if you are a tailorsmith, or I don't know what the word is, if you can manufacture clothing, now that's a good option right there. Being able to, good skill set, good trade, manufacturing clothing. Now, if you are one of those type of people, you need to stock up on all the supplies that you need to do that. Bolts of clothes, cloths, things like that. But then again, we get into, you know, before that was a thing, furs, hides. Do you know how to tan it? Do you know how to make clothing out of these things? Another service. Now, this one here, underwear. And it's in the service department. It could go to tailoring. During SHTF, guys, it's not going to be fun and games. There's going to be a lot of immoral things running around. You know, personally, I say just stay in your lane, try to stay out of everyone else's stuff. But there's going to be, you know, the old trade of mankind. Prostitution. I'm just saying, if you happen to have a stockpile of Victorian Secrets there, you might be able to trade some of that off for other supplies, because there's going to be brothels. All right, underwear is important anyway. I don't want to be going through the apocalypse commando style anyway. I mean, blue jeans, they chafe you. So that's an item. It can be used as a service. That's up to you. But I wanted to get that out there, and let's move on to the next one. All right, guys, so fishing line, fishing tackle, providing a service there. One, you can either repair rods, manufacture fishing rods. You can, if you're a great outdoors fisherman and you always bring in massive amounts of fish every time you go out, and you know all the local spots where you're at, hey, that's a service there. Smoking your own fish, things of that nature, a fish trade, manufacturing of food. It's one thing to, I said I don't want to trade off food. I don't want to trade off my stocks. But now if there's a way I can navigate commerce during SHTF providing a service, fishing, that's a great item. It's a great idea. It's a great service. And it's been done throughout mankind. So that's another option. Fish and tackle, cast nets, things like that. Absolutely great idea. Oh yeah. Now maybe we can open up a coffee shop. That's an idea too. Next up is construction materials. Repairs. Are you good with your hands? And or a lot of supplies. I mean, you can be buying up screws, nails, all that stuff now. They don't take up a lot of room. Screws and nails are very expensive here lately. I mean, they are. But when manufacturing stops, people are going to be going to that. Now, I know you can make wooden pegs and all that other stuff to build things, but there's a reason why they went to metal fasteners. Faster, stronger. All right. So it's an item. It's a skill set. If you are construction, if you have a background in construction, can you manufacture, can you build something with your own hands? That there, you really don't need power, because all the tools that you need can be done by human hands. They have tools that are not run by power. All right, hand drills, all these other things. Can you operate those? Are you proficient at operating those? You know how to sharpen your own tool bits. This is a trade that will be of value during SHTF, a bartering situation. Building, all right? Build materials. I mean, do you have fence line and stuff like that put up? That's a bartering service right there, fencing in livestock for people. Because there's going to be a lot more people going to their own livestocks, things of that nature during SHTF. Do you have these skill sets to provide such a service? Next up is water filtration. Now, we can stock up Life Straws, Sawyer Minis. We can stock up all kind of different types of water filters for ourselves or bartering. But what if water is so contaminated in the area? I mean, how many people do you know stockpiles water filters, water treatment tabs? If they're not preppers, they don't. Water is going to be one of the most key thing for survival for everybody. What if you're the only clean, drinkable water source? I want you to think for one of those post-apocalyptic movie, Book of Eli or whatever. Any of them, water has always been sought after. What if you are the only clean, drinkable water station? Manufacture filters, all these things. That's a service. Water filtration, you're the only one within a 40-mile radius that filters that water. Selling water. It is a service during SHTF, a great bartering idea. Easy to stock up on. I mean, the Sawyer Mini, 100,000 gallons of water. Clears out all the bacteria. See where I'm getting at? Now let's talk about salt. Salt is a great bartering item, but we're looking at services we can provide people. Do you know how to salt cure food? Salt curing meat. Everyone always talks about, well, I'm going hunting during SHTF. I will survive off the land. I've done it. It's not as easy as people think, especially when everybody's doing it. All right? Now, I'm not going to argue with you on your skill set, but talking about bartering services. What if you're the only local that salt cures meat? The fact is, there's no refrigeration. Power's down. No one's going to be able to, I mean, if you're down here in Florida, you're not getting ice. Ice is a thing of the past. All right? Salt curing food. Great service. You're not trading off your stocks, but you can use your skill set for other people. Hey, what about the bartering thing? Somebody brings in a couple elks in, black bear, whatever. Yeah, I can cure the meat for you, but I need 10% of it. Now, you just added fresh stocks of meat into your family. Now, the next one I want to discuss is manufacturing of traps, hunting traps. Do you know how to manufacture these things? Everything from fishing traps to small game traps. That's going to be a great service. Are you a great tracker? Are you an actual trapper? That is going to be a great service. People are going to need food. People that do know how to trap or hunt, they are going to be looking for extra items and edges to feed their family. You know how to manufacture rabbit gummies. You know how to manufacture snares. Even setting up snares. Learning how to set them up, create them correctly, and you can sell them off. I mean, even in today's market right now, they're selling those wire snares. That's not hard to get the material for right now. Be proficient at it, actually know how to do it correctly, and there is a commerce right there. There is a SHTF service. Snare traps. Do you know how to manufacture using a steel hard liquor? Yeah. People like alcohol. Some are really bad off. Some just like it just for, it's alcohol. It's a service. The fact is, it's a vice, it's a service. Can you manufacture your own? You're going to set up an establishment, being the only place around that can manufacture and trade for. It's an idea. Now, one of the things I want to discuss is repairs. One of the biggest things I see is using bicycles during SHTF. And bicycles have been used for a long, long time. First it was the horse, then the bicycle. Bicycles are not too expensive unless you get into the trendy stuff. You talk about $100, get a decent bicycle. E-bikes, things like that. People's always talking about bicycles. Well, if you're an e-bike service, you got e-bikes and stuff, do you have a way of charging these things up for people? If you're the only person around, you have alternative power, yeah, you're good. You get a service. But what about basic bike repair? Changing out tires, fixing tires, flats, chains. Do you know how to do that? That's a great service. I think there's going to be a lot of people on bikes. Do you have the tools to do it? Bikes are not difficult. All right, they're easy to repair. I used to repair mine as a kid all the time. Bikes are very simple. Operate bikes, stockpile up. Get you some bikes. There you are. You're the new shit is the fan car dealer. Well, bike dealer. You know what I'm saying? but you're also the only person around with the tools and setup to repair these things. This is a SHTF scenario business. You have a service to give people. So with that, guys, that is thinking outside the box on our end. We fully support having different types of items to barter and trade with, but I want to push more on services that you can do during SHTF. It's one thing to survive. Survival is not the hardest part. It's thriving. All right? And these ideas, these skill sets is what I think is going to set you apart and make sure you're taking care of your family, your groups. Having these skills, these services, I should say, because that's what you're turning them into. You're turning them into businesses during SHTF. You provide a service, they'll trade you what it is that you're asking for. Or they come up with, hey, I have this. Is that good enough? That's up to you, because you're the one putting the labor in. And the value of skilled labor will go through the roof during SHTF. In my opinion, it definitely will. Because there's too many people in the world today with the keyboard warriors. I know how to do this and I know how to do that because they watched a video. There's a difference between watching a video and being a skilled tradesman. Learning a skill, and I've always been supportive on this, learning a skill is what's going to set you apart from everybody else. It does in today's society. I'm back into welding. I'm a certified mechanic. I'm a certified welder. Anytime something happens, I just fall back on my trade. Yeah. I worked all kind of weird jobs, but I've always been able to fall back on my skilled trade no matter what. During SHTF, it's these skilled trades, these skills, is what's really going to set you apart and make you thrive. Not sitting there on a keyboard going, well, I know how to do this. There's a big difference from knowing how to do something and actually getting it done. So I encourage you to work on these skills. Or not. That's up to you. I'm just here to give you an option, show you what my thoughts are and why I'm thinking a certain way. It's up to you to take your preparedness serious. All right, guys. Speak to y'all later.